Done. Good film, Mr. Filmmaker. But Andrew, what's it like being a university professor one minute and a member of the legislature the next?
There's a quote attributed to Henry Kissinger, which he didn't actually give, but it's attributed to him, and it sums it up. The politics in the university is so vicious because the stakes are so low. In the university, you have a bunch of very bright people playing passive-aggressive politics. That is far more difficult than in the real political world, where you have a bunch of not so bright people playing aggressive politics. So it's very easy. I mean, I'm partially joking. It's an easy transition because I've always been a what you see is what you get kind of person, and the people in the legislature are very similar. There's not a lot of passive aggressive stuff going on. You know where you stand with people, and as you will know probably in universities, it's, you never quite know where you stand because people are unaccountable to anyone, and they can say whatever they want to do whatever they do, and they hide under the facade of academic freedom.
If the Liberals and the NDP had been able to work together in 2006 and formed a coalition government, we wouldn't have had Harper. So that's a major problem. The Greens, as Elizabeth May has demonstrated by her actions so eloquently over the past 4 years, the Greens can work with pretty much anybody. Her priority is getting things done. She's a great consensus builder. She's very collaborative. She sees the big picture. And she sets that standard for all of us, and we work towards those goals. So I would say that Greens being elected, a Green caucus in Ottawa, will work with whoever it takes to get things done. We're ready to form a coalition government. If you're referring to riding by riding, so of course in Canada we're just electing our representatives, we're electing our MPs. And the way that should work is that those 338 people go to Ottawa and work together and form either a majority government or probably more effectively a coalition government. And it's quite clear that we are going to have enough Green MPs this year to be a significant power and to probably hold the balance of power in Ottawa. So we'll work with the Liberals or we'll work with the NDP, whatever it takes.
The two drivers of greenhouse gas emissions in BC are number one, transportation, and number two, household heating. So we're starting low here because most of our hydro electricity is coming from hydro, but transportation is the big individual source of greenhouse gases. Globally, it's thermal coal. I mean, it's without any question. This is such a low-hanging fruit. So in terms of putting energies, this is the one thing that we could be doing more than anything else is putting energies to actually ensure that the Surrey-Fraser dock proposal does not go forward. Washington, Oregon, and California have all said no to increasing thermal coal exports. It is only BC that is allowing them out because there's no longer a market, as was so beautifully illustrated in the movie, and no longer a market in the US for the Powder Basin thermal coal, so they're trying to export it elsewhere. So this is a real problem, and I stand alone in the legislature on this. I was voted down by every other MLA to try to actually take steps to limit thermal coal. The NDP are so afraid of taking a position on anything because they're afraid that they might be rebranded as anti-industry, that they didn't support me. The Liberals, it made no sense, but they didn't want to support me either. So to actually put pressure on whoever to get this thermal coal stopped is the single most important thing I think anyone can do in BC, because ultimately, we can drive a bit less and we can eat stuff from more closer to where it's grown and fly less. But the big thing, the biggest global emission source is thermal coal consumption, and it's used to produce electricity. More than half of all the world's emissions come from that, and we don't need it. It's such a low-hanging piece of fruit that we should stop that, and that to me is what I would do. I mean, I get where Mark Ducard's coming from, and this is what I don't. I appreciate the criticism in the film, but this is one of the reasons that it was simply wrong for Jim Hansen to say game over for planet Earth. He made a calculation error. He was out by an order of magnitude. It was just wrong, and so I didn't know it was wrong, but I felt that we had a duty as a scientist to point out it's wrong. But there is a lot of misplaced energy in climate discussions into things that are not really the big picture in climate. The biggest single thing we could do is stop thermal coal. Everything else pales in comparison to that.
I heard Andrew was running in about September, I think you announced.
Yeah.
And it was like a little column in the newspaper. And I basically just gave him a call. I thought it would be a good idea. I'd seen him in various films and documentary, and I'd heard about him, and I knew, people had spoken very well of him. I hadn't even been to any of his speeches, so I didn't really know him that well. I didn't know him as a public figure that well, but he was, his reputation preceded him, and so yeah, I just gave him a call and said, "There's this idea I have to follow your campaign, and I think you've got a very good chance of winning." And this was partly because Elizabeth May had done so well, so I knew that part of southern Vancouver Island around Victoria, it's a very, very green base now. And so Andrew was totally up for it. After, I sent him some work, and we had a few back and forths. But you can tell from the film he's aware I'm there, but he's pretty much unguarded most of the time. I don't, it's just I got free access, which was very, very good for the film, I think.
I was worried. I really was.
Well, there was a couple of times initially when I first started filming where, there was one time where Andrew asked me to turn the camera off, but I think it was just like we were still establishing a kind of level of trust. But for the most part, you can see by election night, I'm just a fly on the wall. So I have to confess it wasn't finished when I submitted it, and it's probably it needs a bit of polishing still. So there's another screening. It's at the Green Party AGM on the 24th, is it?
23rd.
And they hadn't seen the film. They kind of assumed it was going to be good because I'd been following them all the time. But I'll find out after this if they you like it. Oh. So we'll be talking. I suppose we're going to have a conversation about that. I don't know. I don't want to presume anything. But as far as the rest of general distribution, I'll probably have. There's so many potential ways to go with the internet and digital distribution. So if nothing else, I'll definitely try and distribute it online, but I will try and have another couple of screenings, one in Victoria, and I might put another screening in Vancouver, and just kind of build on there. I'm not totally sure at this stage.
I want to first of all thank Robert Allstead for being an incredible guy. He's helped us out a lot. He set up our first website. He did the film reviews, the IO film reviews in Common Ground for years and years. Thank you. And your second movie is fantastic. I want to mention, the fellow up there was talking about Don Davies. Don Davies is a great person. I voted for him. In her riding, I'd vote for her. In his riding, I'd vote for him. Get the picture? Okay. And the NDP and the Liberals are going to have to learn how to cooperate with the Green for a change, instead of trying to pretend they don't exist. And in this new issue of Common Ground, just came out today, that's by the cover, we have Claire Martin. She's running against a very strong conservative person in North Vancouver by the name of Andrew Saxton, who happens to be an international banker, not a credit union supporter that makes movies like this. And Lynn is in a new riding. According to the Fair Elections Act, we have 6 new ridings in BC. The Conservatives decided where they're going to be. Another one's Vancouver-Granville. Rumor has it that maybe Gordon Campbell might be running in that riding, but that's just a rumor.
For the Conservatives?
Does it matter? Okay, so I guess I just wanted to say that I'm really honored that Robert's made this movie and that Andrew is our first MLA on the Green Party, and Lynn Cornby and Claire Martin could give us a better weather report than Stephen Harper ever will.
The first question is, what federal ridings in BC do the Greens have a serious opportunity of actually taking a seat? And the second question is, how do we move the Greens beyond the largely hippie or ex-hippie white demographic and into the larger demographic of Canadians?
Vancouver, but obviously I think the North Shore, but we have Vancouver Island, most of them except for North Island are very, very strong Green presence. I mean, provincially it's even easier. Because provincially, we have the Liberals that are over here. There's nothing liberal about the Liberals right now. And we have the NDP, which are over here. And there's nothing in the middle in BC. So our support provincially is incredible. So when I say that, you know, it's a very different kettle of fish provincially compared to federally, where there are 4 parties, 3 of which are struggling to try to find placement in the middle of the, if you like this spectrum stuff, whereas provincially, there is only one party that I would argue is centrist. There's only one party that actually offers a vision for an economy that is not based on fossil fuels in British Columbia. That's really only us. And Matt will play a critical role in that as we move forward. Matt Toner.
I just want to pick up on the other aspect of your question about the diversity of the candidates running. And one of my favorite candidates running this year for the federal Greens in British Columbia is Fran Hunt-Janucci. She's a First Nations chief who has stepped up to run in southern Vancouver Island as well. And I think she has a very good chance of doing well. And we have, well, yeah, as you say, all the way up Vancouver Island. And in terms of here in the Lower Mainland, we have Ken Melamed. He was the mayor of Whistler during the Olympics. And Ken has stepped up to run in, I'm not going to say his riding right, West Van, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country. And he has a really strong campaign out the gates. Claire Martin in North Vancouver, and then going around the inlet. And we have Wes Regan has recently stepped up and has won the nomination in Vancouver East, and he's a very strong candidate. And we have other strong candidates that are getting things organized. So I think it's going to be a really big year for BC to turn green for this federal election. And as Elizabeth May likes to say that, you know, we're just tired here in BC of everybody east of the Rockies, you know, they watch the election results, they go to bed, they think it's all over before we're even finished voting. This year, they're going to wake up in the morning and go, whoa, what happened?
Watch the Prince Edward Island election 3 days from now,
Yeah.
because it's the leader of the Prince Edward Island Green Party looks like he may win his seat, and it's very close. Oh, it works. It's very close right now, but it's something to watch for. I think it's Tuesday, the election. Monday is it? Tuesday, yeah. Okay, that'll be interesting too.
One of the big things that I think sold the film to Andrew initially was I said I wanted to kind of profile the democratic process in the microcosm of a riding, and I was particularly interested in voter turnout. And with Andrew, I didn't realise this until we actually met and I got to know him a bit more, but this is a really big thing for him, getting kids to vote and getting kids registered from 16. And you can speak a bit more to this, but I just wanted to introduce that idea.
Thank you. Yes, exactly it. I mean, federally, between 30 and 40% of youth between ages of 18 and 24 vote. Between 70 and 80% of people over the age of 65 vote. Provincially, our voter turnout in Oak-Bay-Gordon Head was 70%. It was the highest in the province. The second highest voter turnout was where Adam Olson, who all came within a few hundred votes of winning. It was 69%. And the third highest voter turnout was Vicky Huntington, the independent member from Delta South, at 68%. What is clear from those 3 numbers, I think it's coming back to the vote splitting, is that when people believe that there is an alternate from the status quo, the dysfunctional, you know, left versus right paradigm of you say this, it's wrong, you say this, it's wrong, as opposed to what we try to do as Greens, which is actually solve real problems. You actually get people turning out to vote, particularly the youth who think that their vote counts. So we actually focused very, very heavily on trying to ensure that the youth came out. We had, I had the University of Victoria in my riding. We had students running campaigns to get out the vote from the students at Victoria. And I'll tell you as a consequence of this is remarkable. The biggest club at the University of Victoria now is the UVic Green Club. It is the biggest youth club. And that's really remarkable because it's a political club and it's a green political club. And it's because of the amount of work that people like Evan and Taylor, the youth who worked on my campaign, obviously Judy too, but Judy and I are of the generation after them, but the youth are really engaged and excited because they see change is possible. and it brings them into the fold. So I think Greens will do well when youth vote. And getting youth to vote means giving them something to vote for. And I think Lynn's an example of that, Matt will be an example of that, and you'll see an amazing bunch of Green candidates across the province in 2017, which will be his second film. Where we have to pay him to come and do the film.
I don't think my wife will let me do that.